For more on what's happening here, let's bring in Jeff Clark. He's a senior fellow at the Center for Renewing America, a former DOJ assistant attorney general under President Trump, and these days a favorite target of the American left. Jeff, good to have you with us, sir. Thank you.
Thanks, Vince. Good to be here.
We'll start with the president's situation today. This Alvin Bragg case against him has been pretty widely derided by most legal experts as flimsy, and yet it's getting going anyway. The opening arguments today from the prosecution side involved accusing Trump of a scheme to keep important information from the American people in the 2016 election about someone called Stormy Daniels. Trump's attorneys are saying, look, there's nothing illegal here at all. What do you make of this?
Well, I think that's entirely true. This case is uber flimsy. And here's how I sort out the four cases. I think that Jack Smith took the choice fruits for himself, and he brought the documents case first, using the D.C. process to pierce through President Trump's attorney-client privilege and other privileges, but then, had to bring it for venue reasons down in Florida because that's where Mar-a-Lago is. And then he brought the January 6th case, which has the best possible jury pool.
Yeah.
These cases have been brought at state level by local DAs, one in Georgia and now this one in New York City. I think those cases are a lot bigger stretch, a lot harder lifts.
Right.
So he left them to the state officials. But the offsetting point is that they brought those cases anyway, despite how weak they are, because they're hoping they can get something that President Trump, if and when he returns to the White House, can't pardon himself for. That's their game.
Even if the case is weak, it kind of seems like the Biden Department of Justice is doing its best to help it, though, in New York. There's an attorney now. The man who conducted the opening arguments today is a guy called Matthew Colangelo. Matthew Colangelo, who was, up until very recently, the third in command under Merrick Garland at the United States Department of Justice. Should we be suspicious of Colangelo's role on Alvin Bragg's team?
You should be. You should have suspicion levels off the charts on that, Vince. You don't go from being a leader at the main Justice Department, which has nationwide jurisdiction, to being a local DA team member. That's reverse career mobility. You only do that if actually, it's a kind of stepping stone to anywhere. It's a stepping stone to, greater things. If he can secure a conviction of President Trump in Alvin Bragg's case, then, he's going to have the highest, hero impact. They'll bring him back, they'll laud him, and they'll give him an even higher spot, somewhere within the federal bureaucracy. And they're not even trying to hide it, right? It's one thing for him to leave being the acting associate attorney general, the number 3 spot at the Justice Department, to go join the Alvin Bragg team, right? And then have him work on it and sort of be their brains and feed them theories and write briefs and the like. It's another thing for him to stand up and deliver the opening statement. That means they're not even trying to hide it, Vince. It's just naked. Like they're flouting. They're daring the American people of, we're going to try to stop President Trump from getting back into office. Nana, what are you going to do about it?
Yeah, it reminds me of like a guy like Andrew Weissman. Like, everyone's, it's the Bragg case, or in that case it was, it's the Mueller case, but it was actually Weissman who was the driving force on that team. In this case, Matthew Colangelo, kind of the driving force. Do you get that impression?
Yeah, I think so. Absolutely. I mean, the Alvin Bragg didn't want to bring this case, right? A prosecutor he brought in from, big firm private life had to write a whole book to make, Alvin Bragg look bad,
yeah,
right, and attack him. And then, Bragg must have said to himself, well, I don't know how to win this case. This looks pretty shoddy. And so, they brought in Colangelo, who, it was either whispering sweet nothings into his ear about how he could win the impossible, or that he somehow could make lemonade out of the lemons here.
Yeah.
The real challenge is going to be to make it stick past appeal, right? Maybe they can convince a jury to do anything here and convict President Trump, and that's part of their objective. It's just they hit a grand slam if they can actually get through appeal. I think that's going to be very difficult, but maybe they can get through this first stage. And oh boy, will the headlines launch at that point.
How messy is it for Alvin Bragg and Matthew Colangelo to have as their star witness a convicted liar by the name of Michael Cohen? How messy does that make things?
Yeah, I mean, very messy. They got him. He's gone to jail. The Southern District of New York, who sent him to jail, didn't decide to pursue President Trump over this case, right? And then they got Stormy Daniels, who actually wrote a document saying that there had been no relationship. And most recently, I saw CNN kind of previewing that apparently now this reminds me of the 51 intelligence agents who said that the Hunter Biden laptop had the indicia of, or all the indicia of Russian disinformation, right? Like, that's a very artfully phrased thing. So now they're saying things about her future testimony that seem very artful. They're saying that she's going to say that the relationship that she now claims existed, despite the fact that she disclaimed it before, was not entirely consensual. I mean, what the heck does that mean?
Yeah, that's it. So it's shifting, which doesn't help her credibility.
Right.
Yeah. So, by the way, I just realized Matthew Colangelo also worked for Letitia James in her case against Trump. This guy's been all over the place. This is,
yeah.
And so the Biden administration seems to have its fingerprints on all of this. That includes, by the way, Nathan Wade and Fani Willis down in Georgia, as that team was meeting with the Biden administration in the midst of all of these prosecutions. Have you ever seen such a thing where it seems so obvious that this is a political hit job in all of these cases?
No, I mean, it's super obvious. It's clear that they're coordinating, or that there are institutional interests at stake on the federal side that they don't want to let the cat out of the bag on, because it would undermine these state cases. And look, I'm personally involved in this, right? Down in Georgia, we've uncovered that first there were exchanges of documents between the Biden White House counsel's office and Fani Willis. And then second, the New York Times had covered this actually. They had asked, Fani Willis had asked for permission from the Justice Department, which is what you have to do if you want to use Justice Department officials as third-party witnesses, for permission for, former colleagues I had at DOJ to testify against me. Boy, those were great, appointees of President Trump. But put that aside, the Justice Department under the Biden administration denied permission for them to testify in front of Fani Willis's grand jury. And so we've asked to see both sets of those documents, and they've been placed under seal, Vince, and we can't see them. And the only reason, it seems to me, why we can't see them, certainly if they were innocuous, Fani Willis would turn them over, is that, they probably either in the instance of the White House counsel's office documents with her indicate some form of collusion, and as to the Justice Department documents, they'd indicate something that would beef up the immunity defense that President Trump and Mark Meadows and I all have because we're former federal officials, because they're saying, no, we're not going to let DOJ officials testify in your local process. Either way, in both ways, it's not the kind of thing that happens. It shows that there's an unusual level of coordination between the Bidenistas and these local Soros prosecutors.
Yeah. Or as Adam Schiff might say, there's ample evidence of collusion in plain sight. Hey,
very good, very good.
Let me ask you something else about what's going on with you personally. We've been talking with John Eastman here about kind of all the trials that he's going through as a result of giving President Trump legal advice. You also, as an attorney, have given legal advice in good faith about what you thought about the 2020 election, and the left is looking to destroy you for that. In fact, they're actively trying to disbar you in D.C. Give us an update on what's happening.
Sure. So, I'm litigating in 8 different forums, Vince. So I think, President Trump certainly takes the cake in the lawfare front, but, I'm probably the number 2 target. I won't list all 8 of them for you, but they span local, state, and federal courts.
Sure.
I have an appeal coming up about my bar case, actually, in the D.C. Circuit on May 10th. But the latest important thing that's happened is that the D.C. Bar's local process completed a trial against me in early April. Now we're in post-trial briefing, and then there's an appeal process, multi-stage appeal process that kicks in after that. So I'm going through that. It's incredibly expensive, and it's designed to destroy me, to harm my reputation, to keep me tied down so that I can't be doing work for the conservative cause and the movement, and then potentially, to black me up so bad that if President Trump does return to the White House, I might not be able to, return to the administration somewhere. So, this is what they do, and I think for the American people, it's very transparent. I hope that sources of media like yours, keep helping to shine a light on it, because I still think not everyone's been woken up yet, Vince.
So as you point out, part of the goal here is to impoverish you now, and then of course to further impoverish you in the future by cutting off your means of actually generating an income. Have there been other impacts? In John Eastman's case, he has revealed, and we just talked about this past week, that he was debanked. In other words, his banking institutions, USAA and Bank of America, both shut down his accounts, and he had to transfer all of his assets elsewhere. Has anything similar happened to you, Jeff?
That has not hit me, and knock on wood, it won't. But I mean, I've suffered death threats, which we've reported to the FBI. One particularly colorful one involved a man who at least said he was in New Jersey, and he invited me to come meet him in the Pine Barrens and said that he would chop me up into little pieces that would fit into buckets. I'd be unrecognizable, and that he would leave all my children fatherless. So it's really wonderful when you get great Democrats like that who watch MSNBC, because that's what it spurred into action, he said, and then you hear something like that. I mean, I don't even know what planet these people come from.
I hate to be curious about this, but does the FBI take death threats against you seriously?
So that happened when I was working for a prior organization, and the organization was so concerned that they dispatched one of their other employees to speak to the FBI about it. The FBI agent who took the call seemed very concerned and said, "Look, yeah, this has to be investigated." But on further calls, no action was taken, and as far as I know, they didn't do anything with it. Unless it got killed at some higher level inside the FBI.
In other words, as far as you're aware, they never even called the guy or interviewed him to find out what his actual intentions were.
That's correct.
Amazing. Jeff Clark, again, senior fellow at the Center for Renewing America, continuing the fight on behalf of our country, and a former DOJ Assistant Attorney General under President Trump. Sir, thank you for your time today, and hope you can come back soon. I really appreciate that.